Hey everyone, it's Path. Today we are back with another episode on the psychology of Pokemon investing. The specific topic of today is on the hidden fees. On the screen you will see words like regrets, fear and doubt. And I think this is one of the very appropriate topic to talk about, especially at this moment. If you look around you, if you have been trying to search for Pokemon sealed investing especially, or even the singles, you will probably see more negative sentiments compared to the positive ones. So without further ado, I just want to let you know that this is not financial advice. Whatever I'm sharing is my personal opinion, and my circumstance is definitely not the same as what you may be facing. And many of these things that I'm sharing right now is actually what I learned from this book, The Psychology of Money. And it's a good read, not too difficult to read, and not very technical. So if you're interested, I would definitely recommend having a read of your own and see what you get out of the book. So without further ado, I just wanted to start by sharing with you the purpose of this video. Evolving Sky Booster Box, if you just look back 1 year ago, you can see that it started close to about $800, and by the time of recording, the highest point was about $2,400, something like that, and right now it dropped down a little bit, down to about $2,200. If you're looking at it from a percentage growth point of view, it's about 180% growth in 1 year. So even if you're just comparing within the Pokemon investing arena, without comparing to the more traditional, less speculative investment, this is still a very crazy gain, especially at such a high value. And this of course is a more established set. Is from Sword and Shield, is barely 4 years old. So actually most people do not expect such a big jump. Normally we expect to see a slow and gradual jump when they get out of print, and maybe they have a big step up, and after that it should sort of stabilize and maybe have slow growth over the years. But over this 1 year we have seen quite a few steps. If you just look on the screen, one in January, and then another one in somewhere June, and then recently we have another one from September, October, and then it just consolidated a little bit, and a little bit of price correction at the end. In the last few weeks it has dropped down by about 10%, but still it's we're talking about 180% growth in 1 year, and that is crazy, especially if you compare to the more traditional investment. I think this is why there are many people, especially those like me, who have been working for more than 20 years in the industry, whatever industry you're in, and you have a bit of spare cash in your hand. You do not have much financial burden, you are not in debt. People like me may be looking at where to place out some of our cash, some of our money reserves, to look for a little bit more speculative gains and high gains compared to the things that we are more used to, the very safe things that maybe grow and on average 5% a year, something like that. And things like this is very interesting, I think, which is why getting very hot. But we also want to talk about the hidden fees, because if we are just looking at on the screen just now, if we are focusing, we zoom out a little bit and just look at the whole year, of course it looks very nice, 180% growth, but actually in between there, especially in the last 1 month, in the last few weeks especially, the market has been pretty volatile, and especially on the downwards trend. And so if there are people who just want the reward but do not foresee that the price may actually come down, because in the last 1 year, maybe even 1.5 years, it has been going up and up and up all the way, and nothing actually come down at all in terms of the price. So probably if they are new to this, or they are new to investment at all, especially in the more speculative investment like Pokemon investing, then they may be caught off guard. They did not expect this to happen. So I think the emotional part of this is the cause of the potential growth, because if we look at back in the, if we are talking about prior history, of course Pokemon is closing up to about 26 years right now from the US set. If we consider the Japanese set from 1996, it's closing up to a 30 year. And of course 30 years is not a very long time, but it's not exactly very short as well. So some people think that is very safe, and you will also hear that there are many content creators saying that all the sets since 1996, the Japanese ones, none of them is cheaper than when it came up. So everything is practically collectibles, because you just collect any of them, they are selling more than what you would pay them, at the MSRP when it was released. So that's basically the idea of collectible. It is more valuable than when you bought it. And so, but again, of course, most people will say that, the gain is very good and it's very stable, but honestly, nobody really know what may happen. On the screen, the same three words: regrets, fear, and doubt. That's something that we're going to touch on today. How does that affect us? And I just want to go back to the volatility. This is my own collection. In the last 1 month time, you can see that the peak is about 85,000 for me, and right now it's sitting at about 80,000. So I lost about $5,000 in terms of the total value. Of course, I sold a case of temporal forces, so part of it is because of that, but I also bought something, so you see a little bit of upward slope over here, but still in the last about 2 to 3 weeks, I think last 1 week, you can see the slope downwards is pretty steep. So if you are just looking at 1 week curve, and let's say if you are so unlucky, you jump into the industry, you're thinking, oh, I'm going to start doing SEAL investment, somewhere in the middle of October, and then you jump right in the top of the market, and right now you would have already lost like 10% of whatever money you put in. And if the money is not that critical to you, that like me, I don't really care. My fear is not that much because whatever money I lost, it doesn't affect my daily life. I don't need it to buy a dinner. I don't need it for my children's education. I don't need it for their tuitions or things like that. Those are just spare money. Like I said, I've been working for 20 years. So whatever money I have are all reserves money and some spare money. So, but the question is, when fear comes in, when you see the market is volatile, especially downwards, upwards, actually nobody cares, right? But when it goes down, then the main question is, in our back of our mind, we always think about, do we have enough reserve to hold? Some people who are actually flipping, then they will have to think about, do I have enough to continue to flip, to buy more in the future? Especially if you put this on credit, then you have to think about, do I have enough to pay off the credit card and things like that. So these are something that we always have to think about. And the more important question is the third one: is it all going to zero? I know some of you may think that it's just a meme, it's not really actually going to zero. But if you really think about it, even with Pokemon, with 30 years of track record, they've been around for 30 years. But honestly, and also one of the very popular thing that people talk about is, Pokemon is the biggest IP in the world. It's not going to die. It's not going away. But honestly, do you really not think that there's even like a 5% chance or 3% chance that something bad may actually happen, and one day they really, the whole company go bankrupt, and all this thing just go down the drain? May not go to zero, but it may really drop 80-90%. I don't think this is totally impossible, right? So this is also something that is always at the back of my mind. So when I'm putting money in, I have to think, how much do I actually want to commit? And when the money is going up and down, I see the collection value going up, and I'm very happy. But when it goes down, then I always thought about, do I want to, cut some of my exposure here? Do I want to put it into something a little bit more safe? This is, even for me, it is always been on my mind. And to people with less, cash in the bank, maybe a little bit less reserve, I think probably it will affect you a little bit more. So this is something that we cannot take for granted of, and we should always keep this in mind. And the regret for me, probably the one good example is Palladian Fate Pokemon Center ADB. Recently the price is close to 400, and if you see somewhere in the beginning of this year, just about 6 months ago, 6 to 7 months ago, I actually sold some of them when they hit about double of MSRP, the amount I paid. And most recently, I sold one last box at about $400. So yeah, actually, if you think about it, am I losing some of these gains? I sold 9 of them at less than $200, and the last one I sold at $400. Is there a lost opportunity there? I think for this kind of regret, it always helps to remind me of my time horizon. Of course, I justify it by saying that I have quite a bit, more than 25 of them. I sold 9. I still have quite a bit of them. And the last one I sold was actually one with a rip. I still managed to sell it for $400. It's quite crazy. And then the very popular saying is that there's really nothing wrong with taking profit. I fully agree. But if you are really thinking about a long-term strategy, long-term investment, if you are familiar with value investing, and if you are familiar with what Warren Buffett always say, their time frame is always, you know, to the end of the world, right? Until the time ends, they will just hold, and they only sell when there's really something very, very wrong with the company, or they really need money. But now if you don't need the money, then why are you taking it out? Especially if you really believe, really trust that this product will just keep going higher and higher and higher, and the price will just going higher and higher and higher. So the question is always about, I will go back to the first question about the volatility. Are they actually going to zero one day? Nobody can tell you whether it will really happen, but regret is another thing that we have to think about if we are selling it when we need the money. Or another form of regret could be, I wanted to buy something but I didn't ended up buying, and then maybe it ended up doing very well. So these are the different kind of regret that we may have. And the other one is patience. Being patient in seed investment or any long-term investment is critical. So if I just go back 1 year ago in my collection, you can see that for about a month there's really nothing much happening in November, December, because honestly there's not much opportunity. But you can see from about December to January, suddenly I found a supplier. I cannot remember what happened there, but I think I probably found a very good supplier, and then I managed to buy quite a few cases with the money I have. Of course, I don't put anything on credit. And then another one in somewhere in March, so another pretty big jump. But sometimes in between, you know, the months, there's really nothing much happening. So if you see on the orange line on the screen, some of the months really is pretty flat, you know, pretty flat, especially recently after about July all the way to right now. There's honestly nothing much happening, except maybe during every release I got something. And recently I also bought some booster bundle for Prismatic Evolution. Other than that, 151 as well in June. So those are the pretty big purchases. Other than that, the recent release, honestly I couldn't get much, and I don't really buy above MSRP for new products, except Prismatic Evolution, where we really can't get it anyway at all in Singapore. Those I had no choice, but I told myself this is a really good one and I do not want to miss it, so I bought them. But things even like Destiny Rival booster boxes, I only have 4 of them, and I do not plan to buy above market at all, so I'm just waiting. And MEO1, I only got 2 booster box. Again, I was waiting. If it comes back with a good price, I'll buy. If not, I'm okay with just having 2 boxes. It's fine, you know. Let other people have them, it's alright. So this is about being patient. Opportunity cost and boredom sometimes feel like we are losing. Sometimes when we are not doing anything, the money in your bank, you will think that, oh, it's, you know, losing out to inflation. I should put this somewhere. But actually, when the right opportunity comes, it's more important to have the enough money to actually do something about it, rather than you just force yourself to buy something. In the end, when the right opportunity, good opportunity came, and then you do not have the cash to do it. And the other one is really boredom. If we go back to my first few example I gave you about the Paldean Fate Pokemon Center ATB, the first fews that I sold was actually to test the market, because that was the first time, honestly, I'm selling, and I wanted to try and see how it feels like, you know, to sell a little bit, even though it's already double MSRP. I thought it was quite alright. I honestly didn't think it's gonna go up so fast. Nobody saw it coming, I think, back, you know, half a year ago. So I felt a little bit bored. I wanted to try how it feels like, so I tried, I sold. And so there's a little bit of impatience in that sense, and also patience when you have the cash. Then you would probably think about, should I, you know, put some money in crypto, S&P 500, invest in real estate, anything like that. So sometimes when we are just sitting on our hands, this is something that will definitely come and knock on our door, and we are going to be tested with this. So I think I'm coming to an end. It's not a very long video, but I just want to share with you the price of good returns. In this case, I think I shared about Evolving Sky is just one of them. But honestly, if you bought any of the booster box at a good price last year, all of them went up by at least, I think, close to 100%. Even if it is Scarlet and Violet era booster boxes, most of mine at least went up 70-80%. In Singapore, we don't even get a very good price from the wholesalers. The cheapest I can get is like 105 USD. I think in the US you can get them close to 100 or even under from some of the shops last year, right? So the thing about this that not many people think about is the price of a good return is not just on the label, even though we pay like $100 for a booster box. But actually part of the fee is in fear, uncertainty, and regret and doubt along the way, right? Within this 1 year, how many of us actually fear that this is going to end, the bull run is going to end? Then how many of us are actually uncertain about is this going to continue going up, just like the Paldean Faith PCETB? And then how many of us are always racked with regret? I should have sold it earlier, I should have bought this more. So I think this is something that I would want to encourage most of us, especially if we are into investing, whether it's in Pokemon or not. If we are into long-term investing, this is something we have to look at. I mean, this is very common. With the volatility of the market, it is not just one straight line. It will go up and down. You have the ebbs and flow. But in the end, if you really believe that it will continue to do well in the long term, then all these things are just fees that we have to pay. I think we should see it as a cost and not a punishment. So there are many people who always like to say, oh, the investor bros are suffering, now it's finally their turn to pay the price and things like that. But to me, I don't see it as a punishment, because if I truly believe in the long term it's going to recover, it's going to do better than before, then it's just a phase, right? We just have to ride it out and wait for it to get better. And honestly, just think of it as emotional fees that you have to pay. And the last thing I just want to share is, if you are not willing to pay the fee, you may never earn the growth. And honestly, if you are not able to afford the fee, let me just go back one slide. If you're not able to afford the fee, so for example, if you are so tight on money that if your collection just go down by 10%, that means you have to sell everything just to pay for your house mortgage. You have to pay for your school fees if you are still going to school, or you have to pay for your dinner because of your collection going down 10%, then honestly, this market may not be suitable for you, especially if you are thinking about doing this full-time, because this is definitely a very volatile market. It is full of speculation. There's no underlying cash flow in this market. This is just cardboards. So when there are demands, the price goes up. When there's no demand, the price goes down. When there are more fear, people will dump products on the market. When people need money, they will dump it on the market. It is as simple as that. So please, if you do not believe in this at all, don't put money into it. Or if you just want to dip your toes, just try a little bit. I think it's fine. But for people who put in a big amount of money, like myself, I do not think everybody is suitable for this. So if you are like me, you really believe in this in the long term, then I think it is a fee that we have to acknowledge. Emotional toll that we have to acknowledge, and we have to pay the fee and write it out. Yeah, let me know what you think about this. Have you ever thought about it this way at all? I think if you read the book, you will know what I mean. So let me know in the comments if you agree with what I said, if you have actually faced some of this fear, your doubt, uncertainty, your regret, and let me know how it went with you, especially those who have been around for many years. Let me know how you actually get through them at all. Alright, I'll see you in the next one.